Before you invest any of your money, make sure you do these 3 things first. Thing number 1, what is the time horizon? And when I say time horizon, when do you need the money? When are you planning on using this money? I like to break that into 4 time horizons. Short term, you plan on spending the money in the next 0 to 3 years. Midterm money, this is I plan on spending or using the money in the next 3 to 10 years. Long term, 10 plus years. And then we have retirement, which is 59 and a half years old, as that is when you are able to access your retirement accounts without penalties. Side note, some smart aleck in the comments will say, well, you can touch some of your money in a retirement account. You can, but for the sake of this, retirement 59 and a half. That's the first thing that you need to consider is your time horizon. 2, what is your risk tolerance with these dollars? Do you have money to take a big risk and it's okay if you lose all of it? Or do you need to get simple, easy returns at 7, 8, 9, 10% for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? So ask yourself, based on my financial position, what do I want this money to do? And disclaimer, if you are not already on track for retirement at age 60, then I recommend that first thing you do is you get on track for retirement before you start taking these big risks on your investment planning, on your financial planning. I see way too many people that don't even do the fundamentals and the basics of financial planning, and yet they're investing in private equity. It makes no sense. Yet, in 30, 40 years, the next door neighbor that was an accountant that just put money in his 401k is probably going to have a higher net worth. Just because it sounds cool doesn't mean that it's going to have the best rate of return long term. Warren Buffett is a great example of this. Just get doubles and singles, bang, bang, bang. This is going to compound over time. But you know what really kills a financial plan is pretend that you have $100,000 to invest and that goes to 0. But then take the person that puts $100,000 into a very simple index fund or an ETF and they just go roll 7%, 8%, 10% rate of returns. Their financial plan is going to look so much better. So anyways, a little bit of a tangent, but consider the risk and consider where you're at in your financial maturity. If you're just in the beginning, then it's probably smart to start with the fundamentals, which we'll discuss in another video. The third thing is you need to consider your tax bracket and you need to consider your tax implications. So this is going to affect where we put the money. And so what is our current income? What are the tax brackets that we're in? And how do we want this money to grow? Do we want it to grow tax-free? Do we want it to grow tax-deferred? And each one has its different pros and cons. And so breaking those 3 things down, you need to first consider your time horizon. When do you need the money? And then within these time horizons, there's different accounts and different vehicles that you can put money in that have different tax implications and they're available at different times and they also can be invested at different risks or different risk tolerances. First thing I would consider is what are your short-term goals? What do I want to accomplish in the next 1, 2, 3 years? If you're looking to buy a home, if you're looking to, pay off debt, this is all short-term stuff and you shouldn't go and invest this money. The reason why I like the 3-year rule is if you look at the stock market, it is almost always going up. But if you put your money in for 1 or 2 years, there's a chance that it may have gone down. It might have gone up, but it's not worth taking a risk for a small rate of return. Imagine I give you $100 and I say, hey, there's a chance that this might go to $60, but there's also a chance it might go to $110. That's not worth the swing. And so for short-term goals, we do not invest money into risky things. We put money into very stable assets. And I'm not going to get into details on what those stable assets are, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. High yield savings accounts, CDs, your checking and savings account. And then moving into midterm, this is where we're looking at our non-qualified dollars. This is money that we can put in today and take it out tomorrow, but the goal is to put it in there and to let it grow for at least 3 years, at least 5 years, heck, even 10 years. And this is just going to allow us to grow that money and we can take it out when we want. Now, this is gonna have different tax implications compared to a retirement account. It's not tax sheltered. We're gonna be paying capital gains tax. And there's different tax loopholes, tax vehicles, but the majority of things you're gonna be paying capital gains tax on. Long term, this is where it's like, hey, I don't really need the money today, but I still don't want it locked up till retirement. I would consider this the non-qualified account, ETFs, index funds, mutual funds, similar to what we could put in our midterm bucket. You can have all that in a long-term bucket. But also, long-term is where then I start considering real estate. Real estate is more of a long-term financial play. You're gonna hold it at least 5 years, and even then, you're still putting money into your property. I just think it's always smart to think of real estate as a long-term investment strategy. It's not super liquid. It's not super easy to flip. Heck, my property that I've had for 3 years now, we just tried to sell it, couldn't sell it at what we wanted to, so we ended up holding on to it. I've only had it for 3 years, not a short-term fix and flip kind of thing, unless you're fixing and flipping. But for the majority of people, they're buying a house, they're living in it, or they're trying to rent it out. This is a long-term investment or a long-term play when it comes to money. Another vehicle that people talk about is permanent life insurance or cash value life insurance. This is a long-term asset, and the majority of these products are not even investments. So just make sure that, one, they're structured properly. Two, make sure you understand them because they're not very liquid. At a minimum, you've got to hold them for 10 years or you're going to lose money on them. And even then, you've got to make sure that they're funded properly and make sure that they're with a strong company. We could do hours and hours of content on permanent life insurance, and people will go back and forth. I think if you understand it, if you like it, it has its play in somebody's financial plan, but a lot of people just don't understand how it works, and so they end up getting burned by it. But you know what? That's their own fault for not doing their own education and own research. When used properly, it can be a great asset on somebody's balance sheet, and it has good tax benefits to where we're looking at this of, okay, what is your tax situation? Some of those tax benefits, real estate is a great tax play, and then so can be, other insurance products, permanent life insurance, different things like that. They're all taxed differently. So that's why it's important to understand your tax situation, talk with your CPA, and meet with a financial advisor on, okay, where does it make sense to put money at for the long-term investment plays? And then we've got retirement. And like I said, if you're got your short-term crap figured out with, you've paid off your debt and, you don't have any major short-term things coming up, you've got to be on track for retirement at age 60. Once you're on track for retirement at age 60, then I think you can start messing around with the midterm and the long-term investments, looking at private equity, looking at, potential real estate deals if that excites you, or potentially investing in businesses. But until then, it's just way too easy to put money into a freaking index fund and get on track for retirement using your Roth IRA, a Roth 401k, a traditional 401k, traditional IRA, all these retirement accounts, 403bs, things that are provided through your work. Take advantage of those. So my number one piece of advice, everyone always asks me as a former financial advisor, where should I put my money? What should I be investing my money into? And it depends. And it really comes down to that first question. I think the most important question is, when do you want the money? How liquid do you need it? What is your time horizon? And then inside those time horizons, then we can break down risk, and then we can break down tax implications. So before you go blow that tax return that you just got, or maybe you came into a little bit of money, or you're starting to make more money than you ever have before, go through this mental checklist. When do I want the money? When am I going to need it? If you're going to need it in 1 to 2 years, don't take any risk with it. Even though you might feel like you might hear, oh, it's not smart to sit on cash. When you need to use it in 1 to 2 years, that's the best place to sit on it, is in cash. So consider those things and let me know in the comments what other questions that you have, or just high-level questions, because I think some people overcomplicate money. Okay, when do we need the money? When do I need this money? Short-term, debt, emergency fund, upcoming bills, major expenses. Those things are going to fall in short-term. Mid-term, saving up for a down payment, saving up to start a business, saving up for goals that you have that are a little bit down the road, but they are still at least 3 to 5 years out. That's where we're putting midterm dollars. Long-term, okay, I really don't need this money. I could even consider it retirement, but I would like a little bit of liquidity. I would like a little bit of tax advantages with it. That's where these long-term buckets start to come into play. You can put money in them. They're gonna have tax benefits. They're gonna have different rate of returns. They're gonna have different, risk tolerances to them. But long term, let's start looking at different tax advantaged areas for your planning. And then retirement, of course, this also has a big part to do with taxes. That's the number one reason why you do retirement accounts. The reason why they are unavailable till age 59 and a half is to allow for the tax benefits. Either it's gonna grow tax free or it's gonna grow tax deferred, and you're also gonna get a tax deduction on some of these accounts. So it's gonna save you on taxes today. So before you just listen to some TikToker talk about how such and such is a scam or such and such is the best thing ever, guess what? It all fits into a well-oiled, well-engineered financial plan. So peacing out from a former financial advisor. I got some FIFA to play and just really wanted to get on here and talk about that video because I know a lot of you are getting tax returns and you're probably gonna go on vacation. But no, please just do something other than that with it.